And we are back with our third video on Nicki's US Vogue cover for December 2023. If this is your first time here on the channel, hey, I'm Destiny, and you are now listening to my Barbology playlist where we talk about all things Nicki Minaj and Barb related. So we're gonna get into Nicki's podcast interview with the Vogue team. However, if you didn't see my first videos on this Vogue cover, Vogue Secrets, that came out yesterday, and we talked about Nicki's 73 questions video with Vogue and everything that she revealed there. Then we also spoke about the actual article of how she covered Vogue and what she talked about in that article, things we didn't know about her before. And right now we're going to talk about what she said in the podcast interview that accompanied all those interviews and what she said there that we didn't know already. Okay, so if you didn't see that interview was on Apple Podcasts. It's exclusively on Apple Podcasts, and you just search up the run through with Vogue and just listen to their latest episode with Nicki that was released on Thursday, November 9th, 2023. So let's get into some things. As always, I want to talk about things about Nicki Minaj that we did not already know, okay? Some new information. So Nicki has talked about her journey and struggles with finding a nanny to help take care of Papa Bear. And so right now she does not have anyone that assists her with taking care with her son other than her husband. However, she did finally found a nanny that she liked, which was some good news. And she said that nanny had some physical issues that impeded her ability to care for Papa Bear. So I hope I'm gonna wish them like good luck on that front, and hopefully they can get her back. Now, she talked about the moment that she found out that her father was hit by a car and unfortunately passed away. This happened around, I think, 2020, 2021. And she wrote a song about that moment, and she wasn't ready to record it for a long time because she knew she'd have to listen back over and over again to edit it. And she just wasn't ready for that. But obviously she got it done. And I'm wondering like if it's going to be on the album. I kind of hope so. Ready for this vulnerable music, and that's really capturing Nicki's real life. Okay. She talked about being in a great space musically again and just wanting to listen to a whole bunch of beats without anyone else's ideas on it, and she wants the music to write itself. So she also talked about body image issues and saying that she didn't like the way she looked physically when she was younger, but now she loves the person that she was, because she was saying that it's really hard for me to listen to her old music. She says that she specifically did not like her Dare Old Nicki song, and she has no reason for hating it. And she says, I'm like that with a lot of my music. I can't listen back. But obviously now she can. And not only can she listen back to her old music, but she can look at old photos of herself. But back then she says, I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like being skinny, not having a flat booty, and having body insecurity issues. And she didn't like having boobs that did not sit high. And when she looks back now, she says, I'm about to look like that girl again. She said it's very scary to constantly feel like you're in a fishbowl, and remembering that artists are people and all their every move is critiqued. And so just remembering to have empathy for them at the end of the day. Seeing her son, having her son reminded her of who she was, her real self is. And so, that was also cool as well. She talked about her fashion sense early in her career and wanting badly to step out of the female rap box. She wanted to create a new image of what a female rapper is. Although she's inspired by Foxy Brown and Lauryn Hill, she said, I didn't want to imitate my idols. I went from being from Southside Jamaica, Queens, and bamboo earrings to really over the top fun stuff. If you can remember her Roman Reloaded era, when everything was like a lot of bright colors and crazy fashion, kind of like Lady Gaga in her earlier days. She says that pink makes her happier. We know that pink is Nicki's favorite color. She says that it's not necessarily her favorite color to wear, but it's her favorite color to look at. And she agreed with the interviewers when they said like the energy of pink is just great. And so she talks about like it was like an addiction, and I wanted to be over the top, to dress out of the box and grab attention. And so because of that, she said it's possible when you're doing that to forget who you are. She says, I think that's what happened. For the pink print era, she stripped down, she wore a lot of black. And she says this era, even though she's wearing her real hair and more natural looking makeup, she says this doesn't feel stripped down. It feels like back when I first came out. The first magazine, which is the Vogue magazine cover, is capturing me wearing my real hair in years, if I even ever did that on a magazine cover before. So she was happy to do it for Vogue. And so I'm happy to see Nicki do it for Vogue as well. And I think that let's pause here and just like chat for a little bit. I think that in general, like seeing Nicki in her natural element with her black hair, like that is her most rawest form. And if you understood what Nicki spoke about in her interview last year with Joe Budden, she talked about like not getting the recognition in the fashion world that she feels like she contributed to pop culture. And so I think that when she gets these big opportunities on these big platforms, she doesn't want to display what everybody thinks and knows Nicki Minaj to be, the crazy colorful wigs and all the other like glam stuff she usually has going on. She wants you to see her in her rawest form because at the end of the day, Nicki Minaj is Nicki Minaj, but she wants you to get to know Onika for real. You know, and so this is what we see on these covers, and I'm just so happy that Nicki, feels like the need to even give us this. So let's see what Nicki said about the album cover. She says, I was trying to capture Pink Friday, but I wanted it to be of elevated high fashion. The pink and red on the cover represented her new alter ego, Red Ruby, and the headpiece brought in the Asian influence, as in Chun Li, her other alter ego. And she's been paying homage to that Asian influence throughout her entire career. Now, she talked about her son a little bit more, and because a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, like, what if your son becomes a rapper as well?" And she was talking about like, "My son cannot relate to the struggle. I delivered him going to the hospital in a Range Rover and returned in a Rolls Royce, so he cannot identify with the struggle." And like Nicki talked about, she doesn't like to hear rappers rap about things that they can't relate to, especially when they're trying to depict the struggle, right? And so she says, I don't even want to push my passion onto my child because everyone is born with a gift. And the last thing she wants to do is help him record music at an early age. And she wants to see what naturally happens, what Papa Bear is naturally now, I love this story here where Nikki shared more about Papa Bear and her engineer Juice's relationship. So she says he really likes Juice. He can imitate Juice's movements to a T and bumps to the music the way how Juice bumps to it as well. She did make it a point to say that Papa Bear really does love music. And one thing I can identify with Papa Bear on is that like Nikki tried to play gospel music when she was pregnant with him, and he never really liked that, and he doesn't really like sad music, and I don't really like sad music either. So Papa Bear, I see you, we see each other. So she talked about Papa Bear already caring about his appearance, and he has a little swag. She says it's fun watching him because it's not something we're forcing onto him, as in her and her husband. And so she also added, I probably make up a new song for him every day, and it's usually like a little rap. Nikki also talked about what she likes to cook. So she's like, so they asked her like, "Do you think you're domestic?" And she's like, "I think I feel more domestic in my mind than I actually am." Because of course, Nikki, she's a busy woman. She doesn't have time to be cleaning the house and be cooking every day, right? So she's like, "I feel more domestic in my mind." She says, "I love cooking though, but I don't have a lot of dishes that like I'm really, really good at, but I do have a couple." And so she talks about being great at cooking spaghetti and how it's spicy. She also talks about a dish called kingfish, which is what a lot of Trinidadians eat. She says Americans don't eat it as much. It's a thick fish that already has a lot of flavor, right? And so she likes to fry it and then stew it, and the gravy is so good. And she puts the gravy and the fish with rice. One other thing she talked about, I have so many things that I want to tell you guys about this interview. So if you want a part two, comment part two, okay? But so she talked about like how people, and I can relate to this as well, coming from a Caribbean background, how like people, if you live if you're an American or if your family came to America and then you still have your family who is from whatever mother country you're from, whether in the Caribbean or Latin America or whatever, right? And so she talked about the projects were 1.5 blocks away from where we live. She lived in a 2-bedroom house, which was a big accomplishment for her family because most people don't have a house, especially in New York City. So they asked her, how would you describe the moment you're in now? And she said, triumphant, allowing myself to be me without caring what people think. It took a long time for me to let go, but it must be done in order to achieve true happiness. Half the things that used to bother me, I don't even flinch at now. And so she talked about, once again, on that note about like, having family that doesn't live in the US, right? Like, so for people in Trinidad, her family, they would think of her and her family in the US like, oh, you guys are living in kings and queens, because everybody has this perfect perception of what America is, right? Like, it's like the land of the free, and you go here to make money and have a better life. But in reality, it's not like that, or you have to work a lot and very hard to even get there. So people in the Caribbean think their family are living like kings and queens, and they don't understand the hustle and bustle of the United States. So I'm gonna cap it here for this video. But once again, if you want part two, please let me know, because my notes can go on for forever. Probably still have a page left, but I wanted to highlight once again my previous videos on the Vogue cover. And so make sure that you guys go check them out on the channel, and make sure that you guys go read the interviews for yourself. Okay. All these channels, oh, sorry, all these videos are linked in my Barbology playlist that you are currently listening to. Find it on my channel, add it to your YouTube library so that you automatically get notified when I drop another one. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on post notifications so you get notified when I drop a new one.